The first day of early voting is in the books for Little Rock mayor.
And if you haven't made up your mind yet between Baker Curris or Frank Scott Jr., we just had them in the studio for their only scheduled one-on-one debate before Election Day.
Fox 16's Jesse Tenor joining us in studio with a recap of the event. Jess?
Yeah, hey, Kevin and Donna. Over the course of this race, Curris and Scott have met 52 times, from debates to neighborhood meetings. Tonight was their last public appearance together before one becomes leader and the other lives in his city.
Because it's time to unify our city. It's time for real change in our city.
I'll be out in our community every day working hard for the people.
The runoff for The Rock quickly got to the heart of the debate, starting with the fallout from a controversial social media post from Little Rock's Fraternal Order of Police.
So I would like for my opponent to ask to reject his own endorsement from the Little Rock FOP so we don't have that type of past moving towards our future.
This mistrust that Mr. Scott talks about and wants me to reject some sort of a FOP endorsement, that just foments that same level of mistrust.
When it comes to the city's police department, Baker Curris wants it fully staffed with more on patrol. Scott wants to boost the city budget by $15 million to increase the police force.
If you're going to spend $15 million, tell us where it's coming from. It's that simple. That's how budgets work. I've worked with budgets. I cut $22 million out of a $315 million school district budget. Nobody knew I cut it.
Where will the money come from?
From the $265 million budget that we have right now. And if that means we have to cut to make certain that we're going to produce safety in our city, we will do it. It's a tough decision that you have to make.
Restoring local control to the Little Rock School District brought out a different side of Curris, the district's former superintendent.
It's been publicly known for quite some time that he was against local control at the time and could not work with the existing school board, and that's actually how he got hired.
And Baker Curris did respond then, saying that that was nonsense. He was flabbergasted that Scott had even said that. After the debate, though, we asked the Scott campaign to what he was referencing. They did send us links to two 2015 articles from the Arkansas Times and the Democrat Gazette. They break down a motion before the school board that would have allowed Curris to serve as superintendent and also reinstate the elected school board as an advisory council. It wasn't to restore local control.
And flabbergasted was a good word to describe the look on Baker Curris's face when he heard Frank Scott Jr. say that. That was quite interesting. But let's back it up a little bit. The previous superintendent had just been fired for suspected plagiarism, and there was a lot of controversy. No matter what was going on in LRSD at the time, there was just so much controversy. It's like I remember it vividly. I'm just wondering, what did Curris say at the time?
So in those articles, he is quoted saying that, you know, this motion, having an advisory board from the defunct, school board would be a terrible idea, because he said that he wouldn't know who to report for. Would he report to the education commissioner that just came in, Johnny Key? Would he report to the state board? Would he report to this defunct school board? He just said that there was a lot of confusion for him, and the motion did ultimately fail. But I did just talk to Baker on the phone too, and he says that he stands by those comments, that it is nonsense and stuff, because he said that this had nothing to do with restoring local control. This was just a different measure that was proposed, and he didn't like it.
Okay. All right. Okay, Jesse.
Good job getting to the bottom of that one.
Thanks.
And you did it quickly.
I know. Yeah.
That's the key.
All right. Thank you so much, Jess. And speaking of the debate, I know you had the opportunity to be a moderator of that debate. A lively debate, a lot of interesting exchanges, a lot of facial expressions that all of us, especially those who have seen it, but your takeaway from it in terms of how you perceived it afterwards.
You know what is quite interesting, because when you're sitting there in the middle of it, you have a certain reaction to what's being said. Then you go back. Obviously, I went back and I looked at the video and watched it and kind of relived what was happening. I think the biggest takeaway was really what we were talking about here when Frank Scott Jr. said that you were not in favor of local control of the school board. So that kind of blew my mind, and I wondered, okay, where is he getting that? Where is he getting that? Jesse found it.
I think we all were.
We were all
based
wondering
on Baker Curris's
and so
response.
was Baker Curris. Yeah, he was adamant about that. And like we mentioned before, you could see the look on his face and how he changed when he was hearing this. But you know what? Even with all of that said, these two men have so much class, both of them. They were not cordial. They were very respectful of one another, which takes it a step further. After it was all said and done, and no matter what they said toward each other, no matter how they feel toward each other, they laughed, they joked, they were very nice to each other, and it was very good to see that.
Rare to see it.
It's rare to see
in today's
it.
climate.
And I mean, and you kind of think, well, if these two men have had to work together, they probably could pull it off. They probably could pull it off. But anyway,
we'll see how it plays out.
It was interesting, yeah, very interesting.
Keep in mind, if you missed any of tonight's debate between Frank Scott Jr. and Baker Curtis, you can watch it now in its entirety using the Fox 16 News app. Just download it in the App Store or Google Play, and you can do it right now for free.